Welcome back to Daybreak. Spencer Hughes and Jeff Slakey here with a very special guest in studio for our focus on Shelton. We've got Patti, who is the fire chief for Central Mason Fire and EMS and the fire marshal for the city of Shelton. How's it going, Mike?
So far, so good. Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you here. Thanks. We're socially distanced here. We're about 8 feet apart here, so that's good. Just don't sneeze on me, please.
I'll just do my best. So,
it is warming up. Boy, I wanted summer to come because we were just getting those gray days and all that rain, and I've only been here, this is like my second summer, but I wanted summer to kick in. I was done with the wet gray stuff, and boy, it came with a vengeance. So it's been very warm, and that doesn't always go nicely with fire danger and things like that. Obviously, we have the burn ban in effect now, right?
Right. Well, it's burn restrictions.
Burn restrictions.
Right. They last week we closed all debris burning outside the city. In the city, it's been closed for years. We've only allowed recreational burning in the city. Campfires and for your s'mores and hamburgers and that. But in the unincorporated areas, they shut down any debris burning at all last Thursday. So that's shut down until further notice. But things have really started drying out real quick here in the last week. So we've started getting a lot of small brush fires. We've got some larger brush fires going on in eastern Washington, and a lot of folks are heading over that way, helping out crews over there. So
now, how does this summer? Is there like an average day? Is this like ahead of time, or right around on time, or a little later than normal for the restrictions to kick in for July? Yeah,
normally we start looking at the restrictions earlier in July, and we had a kind of a cooler and wetter July than we normally have. Mid of July, we're still wearing sweatshirts here, if you remember a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of wondering if we were going to get a summer until kind of late last week, and earlier this week it was pretty warm. But now it's come on, and we were told earlier in the summer that we were going to have later in the summer it was going to be warmer than normal and drier than normal. So I think we've probably hit that, although it's starting to cool off, and maybe we'll have maybe a cooler weekend. We'll see what happens here in the next few weeks, but we're definitely into our summer now, and definitely into fire season.
And how soon do you guys forecast things like fire dangers, like forest fires and things like that? I know last year we got pretty lucky. The year we moved here is when all the fires were taking place,
right.
Not just here, but in California and Canada and all the smoke. How's it looking for the forecast for this year? Do we know?
Well, right now they're saying that, what the prognosticators are saying is this is supposed to be the worst fire season on record for Oregon and Washington because of the late season, because we had such a wet spring and early summer that our flash fuels and larger fuels had longer to grow and that. So we're kind of doing a wait and see. Right now we're just starting to see the fires starting to take off. So we're cautiously optimistic right now. We've already started gearing up. We just put a brand new brush truck in service just before the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
So we've got that in service. We've already had it in eastern Washington once this year for a mobilization. Just came back last week. Worked out real well. So we've got it in place. We're staffed up, and we're ready as well as everybody else in Mason County. So even though they're saying that it's supposed to be a bad year, hopefully we're ready to kick it right in the face if it does happen.
Good. How was this Independence Day? Because I thought with all the restrictions on social gatherings that we would hear less, but I swear it was the most intense I've ever heard. The dogs were going nuts, even tranquilized. I mean, they were losing their minds. It seemed like it was so much more intense. My wife thinks last year was still more intense, but in terms of calls and problems and things like that, how was this Independence Day compared to pre-COVID last year? Were there any differences?
Well, for Central Mason, we didn't have any fireworks-related incidents or fireworks-related injuries. So
wow, that's great.
For Central Mason, we came out pretty well. Having said that, I think that we heard a lot of fireworks going off. I talked to law enforcement, and of course they had a lot of fireworks-related calls, both inside and outside the city, inside Mason County. You could hear them going off. I think people were needing.
That's what we thought too. Yeah,
needed to get
outlet,
away
yeah.
and having to see some people and just being able to breathe a little bit from all the stuff going on with COVID.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was a needed escape, but now we're back to business as usual. And
Sure.
I think we kind of escaped a bullet.
Sure. As things continue to warm up, what are some tips you have for people on their properties maybe, and things they can do to minimize any chance of a fire sparking and taking off?
Well, obviously, with the restrictions on debris burning, please hold off on burning any of your brush piles and that until we lift the restrictions, which is probably going to be at least September, maybe even as late as October.
Oh, wow.
But if you're going to do your campfires, your recreational fires in your backyard while you're camping, have an adult there all the time. Keep it at no larger than 3 foot by 3 foot. Burn firewood, Presto logs, charcoal, things like that. Don't use dimensional lumber. Don't use garbage. It's got to make sure that you're using just natural, wood only, and have a garden hose, have water, have a shovel by it, and then when you get ready to leave or go retire for the night, make sure it's dead out. And these fires, especially the little campfires, when they're on natural, terrain and dirt, they'll burn underground and they'll travel underground for a long time and stay warm for weeks, even months. We've heard of fires coming up, half a mile down the road 2 or 3 weeks later.
Wow.
So make sure that when you're done with the fire, that the fire's dead out. Dig it up, turn the soil over, put more water on it, dig it up again, make sure it's dead out, because you don't want to have a fire come up, somewhere else on your property a week or two later.
Absolutely. One thing that we noticed too is the boys, my in-laws got us a fire pit, which was nice, and they were doing the s'mores and hanging out and chatting by the fire. And the wood we started burning must have been wet. Is it wet wood what smokes? Because
Right.
it was smoky.
Right.
It was a smoky campfire, and that may be something people don't take into account either. It's just that's not good for your health, obviously, to be breathing that stuff in. It's better to get the driest, right? I mean, you want to make sure that wood's dry.
Yeah, and even if it's just been down, you cut the limbs off of some trees in spring, may not have had enough time to season yet or dry out. Just because it's still naturally cut wood, it's still got to be seasoned or dried out enough. You cut some maple limbs or stuff like that and put it on your wood. It's going to smoke. And even if it's a legal fire, it's a recreational campfire, it's legal size, it's far enough away from your house, you've met all the requirements.
Right.
If it's putting out enough smoke to where it's bothering your neighbors obscuring vision, and we get called, you're going to have to put it out. Even though it's a legal fire, if it's bothering your neighbors, if it becomes a hindrance to your neighbors or others, we can ask you to put it out. We will, or DNR will. And if DNR asks you to put it out, it'll usually come with a fine. So please, if your fire department asks you to put it out, please do so.
Absolutely. Fire Chief for Central Mason Fire and EMS, Mike Patti, joining us, and the Fire Marshal for the City of Shelton as well. Always good to see you. And this is the first time we've had a chance to chat since, face to face anyway, through all this. So it's good to see you again.
It's good seeing you guys. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. Hopefully things will continue to normalize here in the county and beyond. And we'll
Certainly hope so.
have you on again soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the invitation.
Thank you. You're listening to Daybreak with Spencer Hughes and Jeff Slakey, and we will continue just ahead.